I'm often asked about Hotspotting's track record in forecasting areas to show strong capital growth. After all, forecasters are only as good as the results actually achieved. So here are some examples of how our forecast hotspots have performed. Our first top 10 Victoria hotspots report was published in mid-2007, and we examined how values had changed in those locations by mid-2010, and the results were strong. The average annual growth achieved across the locations we recommended was 12.2%. And at a growth rate averaging 12% a year, property will double in value every 6 years. If an investor had bought one property at the median house price in each of the locations we recommended in Victoria, they would have paid a total of just over $3 million in mid-2007. And based on the average growth rate, by mid-2010, this portfolio would have been worth $4.59 million. That's capital growth totalling $1.52 million. Of course, some of the locations did better than the average of 12.2% per year. Several of the locations averaged 15 or 16% per year. If you had followed our tip to buy in Brunswick East in Melbourne in mid-2007, your $420,000 purchase would have grown to $710,000 by mid-2010, and that's growth averaging 16.2% per year. Our first top 10 Queensland hotspots report was published in 2006, and we looked at how the 10 locations had performed in 2010 and found that every location had achieved double-digit annual growth, with an average growth rate of 11% per year across the portfolio. For example, if you had followed our tip to buy in Chinchilla in the Surat Basin, you would have paid about $210,000 for the average house. 4 years later, this property would have been worth $325,000 after growth averaging 12% per year over 4 years. By 2013, the average house in Chinchilla was selling for around $400,000, with an average annual growth rate over 10 years of 15.4%. And you would have had a similar result if you had bought the typical house in Gladstone South in 2006, paying about $225,000 and watching it grow to $355,000 in 2010 and to $410,000 by 2013, after growth averaging 12% per year. So to summarise, the average growth rate achieved across our Queensland hotspots portfolio over 4 years was 11% per year. And to put that into perspective, over the same time frame, Brisbane City averaged 7.8% per year and the Gold Coast averaged just 4.7% per year. These results show that the techniques we use and the research we do really does work. It delivers superior capital growth to the investors who use the hotspotting reports.